Welcome to the Scaling Creative Podcast. My name is Michaela, and please welcome my co-hosts, co-workers.
Oh,
Whoa,
shoot.
how about that?
Co-host.
Scott.
We are in a new space, people.
We
What's
are.
up?
Whole new space. This might not be permanently how it looks. If you're watching on YouTube, this might not be permanently how it looks. We're still deciding on what we want to do with this podcast setup, which is why we're like holding microphones, which is a little different, but I'm nice and relaxed here.
Yeah, look
Just
at you on
hanging.
the couch.
Shoot.
I like
This
it.
is way more comfortable. Like I
think it
feel like
is.
this is in my element.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sitting down,
Legs
comfy,
crossed
Sure.
underneath
legs crossed.
underneath your leg there.
Yeah. Super comfortable. I like it.
Yeah.
And maybe we look like we're in heaven a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's very white.
It does. It feels very, very white, which I love. That's actually why
Yes.
I think we're attracting to the studio.
Good light. We're excited to be here.
Very
Right.
excited.
Fresh new beginnings. Are
We're
always-
back.
always a
Yep.
good
Thanks
thing.
for bearing with us on a couple week delay. As you're moving and as things are happening, it's a little crazy. So we're back though. We're excited, and today is a great one.
Yeah, I'm excited about this topic.
I mean, I think so. We're probably biased though, right?
Maybe a little bit.
I mean, what if you're like, today's episode is gonna suck? You're
Real
like,
rough
okay,
topic today.
Turn it off.
Oh, goodness. So
No,
we're
it's
going to talk about when is the right time to transition your side hustle into your full-time gig, or maybe when not to.
That's
So, because I think each one of us have gone through that process, right?
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
think everyone has, I think, a side hustle.
Without even realizing it.
Yeah, because everyone has a passion that,
Mm.
and most times people aren't actually doing what they love.
So true.
So I think everyone has like a dream. They do something whenever they have free time. They do something. That's probably actually their passion.
Mhm.
But turning into a job is a different story.
I was going to say.
I think everyone actually has one. Whether people actually qualify it as like, oh, I'm trying to build this.
Right.
Everyone actually has something that if they tomorrow had any choice, they would do something. That's actually what you're truly passionate about.
It's
Yeah.
true. I think everybody does have a side hustle
Yep.
passion. It's whether
Yeah.
you make money or not with it.
Yeah.
That's up to you. Some people
Or whether you
serve-
want to.
That's exactly right. That's what I
Because
mean.
that's
Some
the thing
people
is,
just
and we'll
give their
talk about
time.
that, but
Yeah.
like we're already in it, but like that's the hard part.
Right.
Is
right.
actually, do you keep the passion if it becomes your job, which we'll talk about a little bit.
That's true.
And I know for me personally, like I went to college and my bachelor's degree is in American Sign Language interpreting, which is a very unique thing. But I actually really wanted to go to beauty school, but I knew with my dad, he's an educator, and it just wasn't an option for me to not go to college. So I kind of had to pick a major, and that's the one I chose. But it's kind of funny because I ended up still in the beauty industry, which I didn't need a degree for. But so that was my part-time, like my side
Yeah.
hustle for quite some time until it was matching what I was making working full-time. And that's when I decided to make it my full-time gig.
Yep.
For me, because it made sense to me in my head that I was only spending like X amount of hours and I was making almost what I was making
Yep.
full time. So it made
Yep.
sense to me. But also I was kind of in a safe environment. And one of the things I wanted to mention too as like a precursor to this is everybody's different. Like every journey is different. Every story is different. A timeline that worked for me isn't going to work for everyone. So it's not what we all say is not gospel truth.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it was what worked for us. So I kind of want to like precursor say.
Yeah. No, it's
say
important. I
that.
mean, it's everyone's situation is gonna be different because it's also gonna depend on like, do you have debt or do you not?
Right.
Do you have a family or do you not?
Yeah.
Do you, like, there's people that could go full time in their side hustle and make 30 grand a year and be completely fine.
Right.
There's other people that need to make 100 grand just to like pay their bills because they've made silly decisions. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
so there's not a right or wrong time.
Right.
I think there's just, here's what we think on the
Yeah.
topic of, I think there are better times than others. And I think there are times to be self-aware and not.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely not like this is, if you listen to this and you are exactly what we're saying, I mean, maybe that'll help someone. Maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the most inspirational part of creating like YouTube stuff and all the things is hearing people that like will message me and be like, been, you know, following the channel for a while or whatever. And like, I'm finally making the decision to
Yeah.
go full time into something. That's awesome. Because I remember what that was like. Like, it's so exciting, but it also entirely changes your mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what people find hard is your passion becomes your job, and then you have to start making some decisions that make you money that
Right.
don't always go hand in hand of like,
Yeah.
you may love filmmaking, you may not love to have to do like a certain type of job in that, but like you got to make money.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
It's hard. When I went full time in Mary Kay, I was married and my ex-husband was making a lot of money. So it wasn't a scary
right.
thing. I mean, it was still scary to me.
Yeah.
But then when I went through my divorce,
Yeah.
and then it shifted from something that like I didn't even really have to do to I had to do it. There was a lot of pressure, and it was a completely different feel.
Yep.
To go from that situation to a fully, everything on my shoulders kind of situation. And even now I'm in a different transition in life.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think one of our main goals in this conversation is for people to be inspired and really to kind of listen to what we have to say and maybe even admire instead of desire. Because I think it's hard with social media. You see one aspect of entrepreneurship, but what you don't see is the grit.
Yeah, I
the
hope
grind.
that everything we share and talk about, whether it's YouTube or podcast, is more of like it's maybe just thought provoking.
Yeah.
Like, we're not right.
Mm-hmm.
We're not wrong either because we're right for what's been working here. But like, I just hope that it gets people to maybe consider things. I think that some things are more in reach than people think. I think some people just don't realize that there's temporary sacrifices you make for long-term gain.
Yep.
There's so many aspects of that. And I hope that this conversation and all podcasts really are just you hearing our perspective, but we want to really hear from people that are listening too.
Yeah.
Like, comment below. Tell us some of the same things we're talking about. Like, we want to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
We're not like geniuses in this.
Right.
We're just doing our thing, and just so happens we're talking about it. Some people put people on a pedestal just because they're the ones talking about it.
Right.
I always want people to know we're not claiming to be the experts. We just want to actually put out content that is valuable to some people and other people not.
Okay, so let's get a little deeper into this. One of my first questions is, when did you, what were some of the factors that helped you shift into, okay, I'm ready to make this more full-time?
I think, to me, the answer was easy, and it should be, I think, similar to yours as well, is if you're making money with your side hustle and you're growing it more and more, and then especially if it equals out to your full-time, but you're not even putting in the same amount of work, then usually it's like a good indication, at least a starting point of like, hey, to me it was like, hey, if I could put more time into this, I feel like there's so much potential. Because if I'm making money doing it barely, because it's, only a little bit of time I can put into it, then there's great opportunity. I look at it like that. But I think you also need to be smart about, like, just because you're passionate and just because you landed your first gig in your side hustle doesn't mean that you should necessarily immediately jump into it. Yeah. But for me, it was just like, here's how much money I need to make. Here's, I started in weddings, so that was obviously a little different too. It was helpful to a point because you can look in advance and see how much money is coming in years from now. Because so that's why I think a lot of videographers also start in weddings, because it's kind of a way to be like, I know exactly how much money I'm making over the next 9 to 12 months. And once I looked at that and said, if nothing else happens in 9 to 12 months, I'm still fine. Then it gives you this great cushion. And so if you're not if video is not your thing, if just your side hustle's making pillows, well, then you might be just needing to put money in savings, to make sure there's a cushion. But I think the best time to do it is when you actually can go into it making the decisions on like what you're passionate about doing, and not going into it so immediately hungry for money that everything you do is going to end up not actually being what you really want to do, because you're having to say yes to so many things to get by. And so when I looked at it and said, okay, money was good and I was making what I needed to make, it was natural for me to be like, let's try it. Worst case scenario, I can get another job. Yeah. And for so many people listening, like, That's the truth too.
Yes.
You may love your job, and it may be a great job. You can get more jobs. You can't ever go back to the time that you're 30 and super passionate about your side hustle and doing well and start your business.
Right.
And you can go back to the 9-to-5 job. There are plenty of people hiring skilled people.
Right. And that's the difference between an abundance mentality and a scarcity mentality, which I think in order to be an entrepreneur, you can't have a scarcity mentality.
No, you definitely can't.
It's not going to work for you.
And I think you have to also look at your overall situation more than anything.
Exactly.
To determine, like you said, if you have a spouse that's making a lot of money, it's probably pretty easy for you to go into your passion because realistically, you're not relying on your income.
Yeah.
But if you are the breadwinner already, please just make sure you have a conversation with the people around you and not be like, you know what? I love it. I'm doing it. The Scaling Creative podcast said just go for it. We are not taking responsibility for people making decisions that were a little too harsh. Self-awareness, which we'll get into the other side of this, of when not to do it. Yeah. I think that's everything.
Yeah. What about you, Pablo?
For me, well, I've had several passions throughout my 25 years of life. And so I think lately it's been two big things, which has been video, filmmaking. And then the second one has definitely just been music. And I think that I've thankfully been able to do both of those in a lot of different ways. But when I went from doing filmmaking, at first it was more of just a fun thing that I did with YouTube. I kind of just was messing around with it, and then I realized, I said, okay, I started to kind of work with Scott with random jobs and things like that, and I was like, wow, you can actually make money doing this. And so that's kind of when I started to kind of take it more seriously, and not only learned hands-on on the job, but I also learned in a lot of different ways just watching YouTube videos, and kind of I went to college online in a way, by myself, and I studied and I learned and watched tutorials and reviews of cameras. I just did a lot of research, and then I started to phase into actually becoming a professional in filmmaking. And that's kind of I think you become a professional mentally, and then I've learned that the more valuable you are as far as skill set and ability, you'll get recognized, and you'll be able to be getting paid for your skill set.
Right.
And that's something that I think, thankfully for me, is a passion, which I love to film. I love to create stories. And so I think that now that I'm able to do that as a full-time thing, I think it's super fun. So that's kind of how it went for me. I went from, at first, not even realizing that you can, I knew people made money, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be that person. And then all I did was I took it super serious, and I really, really honed my skills. And then over time, I started to realize, wow, I can actually do this full time. And so that's what I do now.
Yeah, and then the self-awareness side from your standpoint, which I guess is more on the other side of the conversation we're going to have, was the important factor of you're skilled enough to create your own videos and sell your own videos. But it's the overall self-awareness of just kind of could you do it on your own? Probably, sure. But if there's certain aspects that don't make sense for you to actually do it yourself and be the boss, that's where I think the self-awareness thing is huge. Because it's if you love filmmaking and you want to own your own company being a filmmaker, what if you made just a little less, but you still got to do filmmaking, not being the boss, and you still can enjoy it? That's one thing I think I always just try to tell people, if you're doing what you love already, don't always think the next phase is I just need to do this myself. If you love your job and you're doing what actually is your passion, if outside of work you naturally make films and all that, then you have, to a point, the job that you want. And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because it's also easy to just look at the other filmmaker or the boss and be yeah, there are certain aspects that the boss has privileges of that they can do or whatever, but there's also a lot of things that might not be what you want to take on.
I think business ownership is glamorous from the outside.
Yes.
I think people don't realize that, and I've been a business owner my whole life, essentially, except I worked at a supermarket in high school. Other than that, I've basically owned my own business from 19 years old all the way until maybe about 23, 4, somewhere in there. And then I started working for Scott. And so I think what's interesting is that I've learned that business ownership is not as glamorous as people think it is. It is obviously because there's so much freedom in the sense of it. There's you can do so much, and that's what I think this country is amazing for. Is it's set up for business owners to win, as long as you work, obviously, and you do things well. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot that people don't realize. There's so much pressure because if the employee doesn't show up, guess who does? The business owner. If there's so much more that goes into owning a business, and I think people are just addicted to they want the
title.
status,
And
title.
the Instagram version of.
Oh, well, that.
Yeah, they want
Being a
their
business
LinkedIn
owner.
title to be like
business owner.
entrepreneur,
Yeah.
business owner. Like, great. You're an entrepreneur that like barely is paying bills.
Yeah.
It's not very. That doesn't sound very fun.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's more fun to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to not own a business. If you want to own a business, by all means, I think it's amazing to do that. But I think if you, like you were saying, if you can find something that you're passionate about and a group of people that are a company that like really can get behind you and support you in that position, why wouldn't you work that job? You know what I mean? If it's your passion.
So I'm kind of hearing two things. You can take your passion, something that you really enjoy doing, and you can take it into full-time working for someone else.
You can.
Or you can also be the owner
Yep.
and the entrepreneur and start your own thing. So it really depends on who you are, what your needs are, and also what your strengths are. And I know you had mentioned before, like having self-awareness, because I think being an entrepreneur, being an owner or CEO of something, there's a level of emotional intelligence that you have to have, and it's a shift from a 9-to-5 mentality to an entrepreneurial mentality. It's very different.
A 24-hour day mentality.
Very different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that's where they struggle, going from 9-to-5 to doing something they're passionate about, being an entrepreneur, but they struggle. The space in between your ears.
Oh yeah. You don't get
the hardest.
Like I don't get vacations. Like I can take a vacation whenever I want. I don't have to clock in. Lots of great things about that. But if something happens on my vacation that needs my attention, my vacation's done.
Yeah.
And my vacation never started if my brain's always thinking about it. Like there's a whole different mentality that is thought about. That's, like you said, the glamorous side of, can I thrive not being the owner? I don't think so. I don't think that my self-awareness has taught me that like I need to make the ultimate decision. I don't think I'd thrive at all. And I've done it a little bit. I think I can manage that way, but I don't think I can thrive in that environment. But it doesn't ever stop. Like ask my wife, when an email comes in that needs to be responded to, and I know that like even if it's not necessarily my job, but the person that might need to respond to that might not do it till Monday, but it came in on a Sunday afternoon, I can not do it, but my brain doesn't really work that way. And there's just this nonstop mentality. But I think people always like practicals. So let's give a couple of practicals of here's what I would say to do if you want to see if you are actually ready to do it yourself. Yes. Take a look at what your expenses are in life. So if you're married, you have to include every aspect. Take a look at how much it costs you to live. And I don't mean paycheck to paycheck live, because that's a terrible way to live. How much does it cost you to actually enjoy eating out a couple of times, to go to movies if you do it, if you like going vacations all the time, if you want to drive the car you drive? Like, I think don't look at it and be like, okay, well, I can sell this, because you won't. Like, look at what you actually, how you live right now, because that's how much money you actually need to survive. And you should realistically try to save a minimum of 6 times your salary or your requirements to live.
6 months.
I think minimum it should be 6 months of, if tomorrow you went full time and you didn't get one job for 6 months, you're still okay. Because I think it does 2 things. A, if you can't get a job within 6 months, you shouldn't do it.
I was just going to say, probably.
You're not cut out for it whatsoever.
Ready.
Exactly. But you also give yourself some wiggle room to then find another job. Like if 3 to 4 months in, like no traction's happening, first of all, you've made the wrong decision. Because you're probably either A, not very good at selling, which is part of it.
Or you made the decision too quickly.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. And there's so many factors. Like you have to think about, am I not getting work because I wasn't good enough? Or maybe I'm just terrible at actually owning the business. But I think 6 months and realistically, like if you can do 12, great. But the reality is most people can't, put 60 $70,000 in a bank. Like that takes some time to do.
Yeah.
But give yourself a cushion. And if you have a solid 6 months, like that's a good enough spot that you can at least go into it and not feel like you're going to be just in big trouble for you, for your family, whatever it is. So I think that's a great just first practical step. And then take a look at like, is what you're passionate about actually something you can make a business? Because yeah, you can essentially make money with anything, but maybe not necessarily in your area. Like, do you have to factor in, if I do this full time, is there enough opportunity for this? Or like maybe it's an online business, so it doesn't matter. But there's other factors that have to go into it. You also have to factor in things like, if I lose my current job that had health insurance, now I need to make that money. There's an additional cost I didn't count. And there's additional money for this and additional money for that. And I had a company car. I didn't realize that. Okay, well, not like if you're, I'm not saying I had a company car, but meaning like that was, you have to realize like what it looks like when you actually lose your job. All the perks that you have, what are those? If you have a free gym membership, whatever, like there's all these expenses. Look at everything and actually look at it like realistically and think about what it's going to look like if those are all gone. And put yourself in a situation where when you go into it, you can actually be excited about it and not be like, oh crap. Because if you go in scared, you're done. Like you're done.
Yeah, and I think there will always be a level of fear because it's a scary decision to take something that was part-time and bring it full-time. I think there's always a little bit of that, but you can feel the fear and do it anyway.
But you know what? I'm convinced that if you feel fear, you're not a true entrepreneur. That's what I think.
I think that is so not correct.
And we can definitely agree to disagree, because I feel like I have never been scared of the situation I'm in. I look at it like unbelievably excited about like potential is unlimited. I think that being fearful of certain aspects might come naturally to somebody, but I feel like if you work out of fear or operate out of fear, you're in big trouble.
I think there's a difference, and I mean this respectfully too. I think there's a difference. I'm not sure if fear is maybe the right word. I think there's a difference between fear and nerves. And I think when nerves in a good way, like, excuse me, I think nerves in a good way, like nerves of like excitement, nerves of like, are we going to make this work? But like knowing, I think it's like because some people are not as confident, you know, as maybe as some of us are. But I think that having some sort of excitement that maybe feels like nerves, it's okay to have that, I think. But I agree with you. I think that there's like an excitement that comes with it. And I think if you are fearful, I think that the only reason you may be fearful is just because you have to maybe reevaluate.
And I'm just wondering too, like how many times, if you're really fearful, then you're kind of not really confident. And if you're not really confident, that can hurt you big time as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like it can, because every sales meeting you go into, there's that fear lying inside of like, I need to land this job. You're going to operate differently when you're scared.
When you're desperate, you can't, work from a place of desperation, because people can feel that.
I think they can also feel not being confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't believe in you, who's going to?
Yeah.
Nobody. And I think that you have to come from that posture. I think it's about posture. When you come from a posture and a space, a mental space of like, of belief in you, and not the fact that I don't need this client, but obviously you always need clients. Everyone needs them. But
you always want clients.
You want clients. Yes, that's true.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's actually like why I've been able to like grow to different clients and different people, is because I've never went in, like I want to land every client that we go into, but I know that A, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And B, like I shouldn't ever have to land a certain client to continue operating, because that means like there's other things that need to be worked on. But I'm not saying either there's a problem with like being fearful, because I do also think that that's a personality thing. There's some people that are fearful even if they are doing well.
Yeah.
So it's not there's anything wrong with it. I just think that I see a common thread between seeing people that are fearful make wrong decisions, because that's what's actually driving the decision.
Yeah.
More than the excitement of like, I'm not scared. Like I'm pumped, because that puts fire underneath me that says there's no option for failure. So like the fear is not there. It's more of there's unlimited potential.
Yeah.
But if you go back to what you originally had said, if you really look at everything and make sure all your numbers are correct and everything's dialed in, and you know that you can step with confidence, there really technically shouldn't be fear because you're sure.
Right.
You know, I think that's what people jump the gun. It's like that the moment from when you have a job, let's say, and you want to become a business owner, from the moment that you decide, okay, I'm going to become a business owner, but that little grind area where you're working both jobs, quote unquote, your passion and your thing, and you're working that during the day and working your thing at night, and like you're doing that grind time, that's the deciding factor. Because if you can get through that, then I think once you're on the opposite side,
that's a great
you
point.
can make it.
If you loved that aspect of it, you'll continue to love being an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
If you think that because you were working 2 jobs at 60 hours, that you're then going to become a full-time owner and then work 40 again, you're out of your mind.
Oh my God.
Out of your mind.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing is like, if you loved that, that's a great way for you to be like, I don't mind doing what it takes to make this happen. That's a really good indication
because if you
probably
you have the gas,
are okay doing that.
You can make it
because there are going to be a lot of times like that. My wife knows that there are certain weeks or certain months or whatever, maybe stretches of right now. It's like years of we know. I've said this on I think my podcast or vlog. I can't keep track of anything. Dave Ramsey changed our whole mentality of not just money, but his quote of live like no one now so you can live like no one later.
Yep.
That idea of we know I work a lot right now. I think I actually have a good balance overall in life, but the whole point is we know that this is not forever, but I have to build a solid foundation so I can actually enjoy vacations.
Yes.
And that means take less money out of my pocket. Could I make more money if I tried to have the littlest amount of employees possible to do it? Sure. But I'd also enjoy life even less. And so we're all like, work as much as possible right now. The kids are super young, and they're going to, when they start playing t-ball and doing dance recitals, I'm going to want to be around more and more and more. That's not even possible if I don't do extra stuff now to make sure that eventually happens. And so the more that we live like that, the more that we don't feel like, oh, yeah, would it be easy sometimes to just walk in and out of a job 9 to 5 and check out? Sure. I just think I'd be miserable. Like, that doesn't seem fun to me.
Right.
But it's self-awareness. Some people love that. Some people much prefer to actually leave their work there and be like, see you Monday.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people listening, though, probably have more of an entrepreneurial spirit if you're listening to podcasts and, because I think part of it is knowledge and really taking time and investing time into building that solid foundation for yourself, taking an inventory, like Scott had said, of, what are your expenses? What needs to happen? And so that way you can go into it when you do transition to full-time, if that's the right choice for you. Yeah, you're going to be able to have a little bit more confidence. But you are going to always have skills. Whenever you get to the next level in something, you're at the bottom of the ladder of the next level. So for me, I think I've always been scared of certain things, like public speaking wasn't always something that was natural to me, but I knew I was willing to work on it.
Because it was important to your overall success.
Yeah, for sure. And that is now something that I really love doing.
Yep.
Which is great. But you just have to be willing at the next level to be at that first little notch and work your way.
That's kind of like, I have a friend of mine that's a bodybuilder, and I used to lift with him, and he's obviously huge, right, and strong. And so I'd put my weights on and I'd do my thing, and then we'd switch because we're lifting together, and then he'd start his thing and he'd put all his weight on and lift and take it all off so I could do mine. And I'm like, dude, you are so strong. And he's like, yeah, but I don't feel that way. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's just like, I'm just like you. He's like, I'm getting to the next.
His bar is higher.
My bar's a little higher right now. Yeah. He's like, but I'm working to get to the next step just like you are. He's like, I just happen to have a little more weight because I've been doing it for longer and more consistently, whatever it may be. But the point is like, you're right. It's always the next step, and that's everybody's working for that next step, even though for you it may feel like you're just trying to, like maybe it feels insignificant to you, but it's not. It's actually everybody's on that as well, no matter what level you're at.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So do you feel like, is there anything else you want to add to the when to take it?
No, I think
Okay.
it just evaluate.
Yeah.
Just look at life, like look at the actual reality of your whole life and figure out if you like can do it safely to start.
And I think, I don't know if maybe this makes sense too, but like, I feel like there's a lot of people that sometimes that are entrepreneurs, they instantly think like they know everything. And so just to be careful, like I would get some eyes and ears on it that you trust, and also someone that actually is doing what you want or is ahead of you in life or whatever it may be. But like, and not in like, you have to get people's opinions, not like that, but just like eyes and ears on people that you trust and someone that's at where you want to be, just to look at it and see like, see if you're looking at things correctly.
Right.
Yes,
Sometimes
and
you can
and
think you know
asking the
everything.
person that, like you said, that knows that's doing it, like
That
if
is
you're
doing
another
it,
entrepreneur,
Yeah.
talk to them.
Even be careful
Because
with
like
people
don't listen
right.
listen to your parents.
No.
Don't listen, like as bad as that sounds, don't listen to anyone around you. You should talk with your spouse and different people like that,
Yeah.
but like don't. Now if you talk to 10 entrepreneurs and they're all like, I'm telling you right now, you're just not cut out for this, I know you, like maybe you should listen to that. But the hardest part is there's a lot of people that I see that are really close to taking that step of like making their side hustle their passion, and so they start to change like their personal brand, their image of like business owner, but they don't like, they're so worried about pleasing people that they almost don't do the correct things that an entrepreneur should do because they're so concerned about like what people are thinking, and then they start to listen to their people that are like, oh yeah, it's dumb, you don't take that chance, and like you're probably right. It's like, why? That person's a loser.
Right.
Like seriously, like they're probably a failed entrepreneur 5 times because they weren't smart about something, and then you're gonna let them discourage you and then have resentment. But your own parents could do that. Your own friends can do that.
Yeah.
The people that are closest to you can discourage you and tell you not to do something when like maybe you have the potential to do it.
And I think you should never take advice from somebody you wouldn't trade places with.
Yep.
And I think I've said this maybe in a
Yep.
podcast before, but it is so true because even for me, I remember I had this one woman that I admired her. I mean, she wasn't an entrepreneur, and I admired her. And when I told her that I was going full time, she was like, "That is such a shame that you're not using your degree." And she said a few other things that it crushed me. But I also knew, well, she's not an entrepreneur, and so she doesn't like understand. I think it's so important to protect your dream and just bring the right people in, like you said, like someone who is where you want to be, and maybe your spouse, but just try not to have too many people in.
Yeah.
Too many
The right
voices are
people.
not good.
Well,
The right people.
I think exactly. I think, but the problem is you're not going to be able to stop people because people are always going to talk.
Correct.
And so the one thing that I like to do, the way I look at it, is I listen. I hear everybody. So I take it in like a big old funnel because they're naturally going to talk, and people just want to feel validated. They just want to feel like their opinion matters. And so what I do in response to that, I say, you know what, that is a great point that you made. I really appreciate you saying that. I totally will take that into consideration. But I know internally if what they're saying is BS, I'm not going to listen to it.
Right.
But I don't say that to them.
Yeah.
They just want to be right. Let them be right.
Yeah.
For them. That's fine. So hear everything, but assess what's right for you.
Yeah.
Does that make
See,
sense?
that's where we differ a little because
I would knew this.
no, the point is spot on.
Right.
I have a very hard time when I know somebody has
wrong.
no clue what they're talking about.
Right.
It's very hard for me because everybody tells them what they want to hear. And I feel that's also why we have so many people fail in life because their parents have always told them they can do anything. Their parents have always told them, you're right, you're right, you're right. Everyone, they surround themselves with people that always say yes, 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 that nobody's ever been honest with them. And I think doesn't mean that that's right. And some people definitely don't love that feedback.
I think it is right. I'm honest with people that I care about, I think actually is what it is. Some people, they're from the outside. They don't even know me. They have no idea what the situation is, but they have an opinion on it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That's a great point you just made.
Yeah.
I totally will take
and see, like, that's hard for me to do.
Yeah, right. But if I care about the person, then I'll be like, you know what? I don't know if you're hearing what you're saying right now, but this is actually what it doesn't line up or whatever it may be. Then I'll talk. But it depends on who it is. But
no, it is important, no doubt, to surround yourself with people that are actually admiring you. That's by like, if you, not that like we're admirable people, but like if you are looking to do what we do,
I think we are.
then we're good people to follow. I just mean like you should like, if you are an entrepreneur or a video person that is just starting out, I should be a person you want to follow if I'm doing what you currently want to do. Like, because I can show you a practical level of how I've kind of done things. And like, it's awesome. And that's why I'm so passionate about documenting my journey and why so many people should, is there are amazing people that you'd love to follow at all different levels that just don't show it. So my channel has always been about that. It's just like showing you that it's possible, but also not like BSing the fact that there's hard parts about it too. And that it's all just the reality of what it's actually like owning a business. And that's why I'm passionate about doing it.
The last thing I just wanted to say when is when you have the right mindset of a willingness to fail forward. Like, your journey is never going to be perfect. You're going to make a lot of mistakes when you transition into full-time. You're going to make mistakes. And so I think you have to have enough self-awareness and enough willingness to be able to embrace the full journey. Because if you are not willing to do that, it's not going to happen for you. It's not going to go well.
I think failure is not a bad thing. I think people like, and I'm talking like, like people maybe are like astronomical failure. I think just failure in general, like being able to fall is okay. I forget if it's Henry Ford or someone said something where it's like all failure is being able to more intelligently begin again. Because you're just being able to start over, knowing that, that I burned myself doing that before. This is just now me understanding that I didn't know before, and now I can restart knowing because I failed. So
it shows your mindset on what you do with the failure. That's it. Everyone fails.
Yes.
It's whether you get crushed or not. Bounce or break.
There's good learning curves. So let's change topics and talk about the opposite. Not topics. So let's change the direction now.
Direction.
And come to the reality that
the other side.
There are definite things I could say, and we probably all could say of when it's probably not the right time. When it's not the right time. First one I want to say, because I know that this to be true, if you don't like working, that's a pretty good indication.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I don't mean like, no, I like my job. No, like if you're not willing to do whatever it takes,
grind
for whatever amount of hours it takes to put a lot of things aside, like hanging out with friends all the time, watching 37 seasons of Netflix, Game of Thrones. Like I don't watch any of the shows. I don't know. Were there 37 seasons? Who knows? Maybe 8. Who cares?
37 seasons is a lot.
It would be impressive. It takes a lot of work.
Yes, it does. A lot of hours.
A lot of work to start it, even more to maintain it. And it doesn't stop. So like, if you're not ready to think that you actually are going to have to work that much, don't even start it, because it's not going to be fun to you. Like, it's not going to be fun whatsoever if you actually think that it's eventually going to be a easy breezy 40-hour week. You're going to look back at like a 40-hour work week and be like, I cannot imagine how much free time you have working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like you get like from like 5 to midnight every day to do anything you want. Like, it takes work. It takes work to be a good employee too. But it takes a ton of work to operate and actually grow a business. So number one, if you're not willing to actually truly grind and hustle, I know people overuse that word, but I think it's a great word because that's what it takes. It takes time. I think that's a great starting point. What else? What would you say what would you tell someone?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to what I had just said as far as the mind. Like, if you're not in the right frame of mind to be a beginner, to be a learner, like I think in order to, I just think you have to embrace the learning of it.
A true entrepreneur doesn't matter how content they are. It's that there's just bigger goal. Like, there's zero benchmarks that I say when I get here, we're done.
Right.
It's like, no.
It's always the next thing.
And it doesn't matter. It's not about money. It's about that you love, and Gary talks about this all the time, Gary V, and I believe it from him more than anybody, about like that he's just not driven by money at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he just loves like doing it so much that it doesn't matter. Like the money doesn't really matter because he'd still be doing it if he.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people would say that. I don't think a lot of people actually operate that way of like they truly love doing it so much that even if they reach $1 billion company,
right,
they're still just like, we've just begun. We've just begun. We've just begun.
What do you think about the saying of, oh gosh, it just left my head.
I was all excited for it too.
I'm still excited about it a little bit.
Should we just make one up? What do you think of the saying?
No, the saying where
ways.
if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life, which I just think is so not correct. But what do you guys think?
I get it. I get what they're saying.
I get what they're saying, but I also know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think
the whole point is people just enjoy the work.
Yeah.
Like, so they're saying, I work every day in my life.
Right.
But it doesn't mean, I understand both sides. I understand exactly what the quote means.
Yeah.
And I understand the annoyance of like, oh no, if you'll have to work a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think though? What are you saying?
Well, no, I think people are addicted to two things. I think people are addicted to what people think of them, and I think they're addicted to this idea of arriving.
Yes.
Stupid, I think, personally. I think you need to love the process. There's no arriving, and it shouldn't be in your mind. You know what I mean? There's milestones, of course, and you should celebrate them. But I think there's never this arriving mentality. I think that's when you get into trouble, is when you think like, I need to get here and then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
You should be happy arriving,
Yeah.
quote unquote, to wherever it is, wherever you're at. You should love the whole thing. And then you shouldn't care what people think.
Yeah.
Because if you care about what people think, then that's what's going to drive you. And I think that the definition of commitment, when you say you're going to do something, is doing the thing long after the mood you set it in has left you.
Yep.
You can't go back. You have to commit to doing it and doing it well. And I think those are probably the most important things when it comes to being a business owner, probably.
And the problem too with like that arrival mentality is like your bar nonstop changed.
Yes.
Like when you first started uploading videos on YouTube and you got 100 view a video, you were like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. And your bar changes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's terrible. And then you're like, 10,000 a video is, that's like, I cannot imagine getting 1 million views a channel. Yeah, until like their bar is now that they want 7 million. The bar never stops.
No.
And you have to actually realize that like that it's not going to stop. So if you constantly are in this arrival mentality, you're always going to feel disappointed because you're never going to reach it. Because as soon as it reaches that now becomes your norm.
Right.
And the norm doesn't get, like, the norm is not exciting anymore to you.
Yeah.
It's funny because the bar technically doesn't exist. It's only in here.
Exactly.
It's in your head.
And the bars, who you look up to, they're setting the bar, but you don't realize, like you said, your bodybuilder friend.
Yep.
You think he's unbelievably strong because he's lifting 3 times what you're lifting. He thinks he's weak because he's looking at someone that's lifting 10 times what he's lifting.
Right. Yeah.
The bar just changes who you're looking at, who you're looking up to, what you did last year, what you did. And I just love the fact that, and I think that what helps you kind of see if you are cut out for it is like, are you okay that you don't get, like, that you're never going to get there?
Yeah. Are you okay?
Like, are you okay with that? Because believe me, it'll change. You can look right now and be like, if business got to $200,000 a year, like, this would all go away and be so much easier. It doesn't. Doesn't.
Yeah, because if there's something about it that you don't love, you will burn out.
Yep.
There will come a day. It's just the way it is.
And if there's something about it you don't love, it is even more escalated as things scale. If you don't like dealing with people, when you deal with 20, you're in more trouble, right? It's like,
Sure.
If you don't like managing people, the more you manage, the more you grow, the more you have to manage. It just becomes really tough, and that's not going to change.
I was going to say, new level, new devil.
Yep.
Wow.
There's always something
Yep.
that is going to try to trip you up.
Yep.
So Brene Brown says, embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Like, there are things, there's growth sucks sometimes. Starting a business, there are things that suck. Growing a business, there's struggle in that. So embrace the struggle.
I think if everything's always going good, you're not doing anything. I think that's like, you have to be doing stuff. There has to be losses. There has to be failures. There has to be stuff you're learning from. You have to grow somehow. You know, you can't always be going, everything's perfect. You can have good times and good moments and good seasons, all that stuff. But I think you need some stuff to go wrong for something to be learned.
Yeah. If you're not willing to embrace that.
Right. Yeah. But enjoy it, though.
It's probably not going to, might not be the best idea for you to be an entrepreneur.
I think another big sign, practical sign, is like, and this sounds obvious, but I think people don't look into it enough. Like, are you actually making any money with what you're doing?
Like, actually.
Like it sounds like, well, duh. Like, no. When you get that first sale ever in your side hustle, these dreams open up. You're like, wait, I can make money doing this? Like, I'm doing it. Like, let's go for it. Like, are you actually making consistent money with it? Are you making, or more importantly, not consistent money? Are you, if you look at what you're doing, is it constantly getting higher and higher and higher? There are ups and downs in any business, no doubt about it. But if you don't look, if you build a side hustle for a couple of years before you go into it, you should be seeing progress made. And if you're not, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It might mean that like you're just not really good at one aspect of it. So maybe it doesn't make sense to own the thing. Maybe if you're very, very good at creating something, but you're not great with getting the work or not great with managing how to actually keep up with the work, you maybe need to partner with someone. And then you kind of are somewhat of like you're still an entrepreneur, but maybe it's a different level. But it's all about that self-awareness of, do I want to do all the things? Because there's a lot of really good filmmakers that will never own their own business. But can they put their ego aside to say, I don't need to. Like, I don't need to own the business. I just love making films. And that's a big piece, though. Like, there are really people that I know personally, they're very good at what they do if you take away what they actually do to run their business. And that's where I feel like it's you being able to put your ego aside.
Yeah.
Or in my case, it's actually going the opposite of like, I'm realizing more and more that I don't even necessarily like actually executing as much of the work of the actual filming and the editing as I thought I did. But I love the going out, the getting it, the managing things happening, and like the building, brand and personal. Now it's possible for me to shift and to say, okay, I can afford to hire people. I want to hire people that do what I don't do well or don't want to do, because now it makes sense to do that. But in the beginning, there's so many people that could tomorrow do exactly what they want to do with a good salary at a good company and love life, but they're waiting until they can do it themselves. Well, like, you might be 2 years away from owning your own business, but you may be 2 weeks away from actually getting the job doing it and making a little bit less, just getting a job.
Right.
Still doing what you love. You don't have to work an office job if you're a filmmaker. Just be a filmmaker for a company that needs filmmakers.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't know how many of the listeners know this, but that's like the story of me. Because before I even worked with Scott, I owned my own company that did the same thing, same services, essentially all the same stuff. And I found that I have a very entrepreneurial like mindset and drive and all those things. And I love people. And there's a lot of things about being a business owner that actually resonate with me well. But there's a few things that I don't like about being a business owner that I would rather not have to deal with. At least at this point in my life, I have no interest at all in handling certain things. And I think rather than live with that thorn constantly in the back, I love being a business owner for all these other reasons, but there's these couple things that I don't like. And I think I didn't need the boss hat to be happy. I think a lot of people want to have the title or whatever it may be.
Of the ego.
It's ego. A lot of it is. And I think, but I get to now do what I love every single day.
Yes.
And it's a job, but I still love, who I work with, what I get to do. And it's I can almost still feel like the position that I hold is a small business within a business. That's kind of how I kind of operate. That's a lot of how franchises, do. And I kind of think of my little position inside of a business like a business. And I run it like, if I don't show up, this isn't going to happen or whatever it may be. So I kind of run it that way mentally. But it's okay to have a job if that's what works for you. You just have to understand who you are and what works best for you in your situation.
There are seasons.
There's lots of seasons, and you can
in life.
many things. Yeah.
So And I think having he has self-awareness in that, which again, I think is so incredibly important.
Sure.
But yeah, we all
And
have
it's sometimes
seasons.
good, and it's also good, like, let's just say you're working let's just say you want to be a filmmaker. We'll just use that because that's what we do. And you're currently working a desk job at like a bank.
Yeah.
A good in the middle step is to first get a job as a filmmaker, and then watch what your management and owners do and see if you actually want to do that. Because you may just not realize that the in the middle is like, I should probably do filmmaking first, like make some money with it.
Yeah.
And then see maybe if that would be good. And then, okay, maybe you go into it and you're like, I can so do what these guys are doing and I would love it. Well, then great. Now, but you've also built a foundation. You've seen how companies run. You've seen how operations run. People, whether it's small business or big business, if a business is growing, you're seeing the inner works of how it is.
Yeah.
A small business even more because you're really hands-on with the owner more than anything.
Yeah.
So it will right away tell you, like, I want that position, not from ego, but that is me. Or you may be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
But
It's true.
if you don't do that in the middle, you're never really going to even know if that's for you because you're just instantly putting its desk job to owner.
Yeah. I think I have this theory that because when you look at people who go into college and get their degree, like I look at even just my small group of high school friends, so many of us are not doing what we went to college for because it wasn't what we were passionate about. It was what we thought we were supposed to do. But I have this theory that I wish there was a year in between high school and college where you picked 4 things you were interested in and then did like a 3-month internship in each one of those or like observation or whatever it is. Because I know for me, I chose sign language interpreting without really a knowledge of exactly what that was and what it looks like day to day. If I would have shadowed somebody, I think I would have known this is probably not necessarily what I want to do every single day. So maybe before you go full-time into something, you should ask whoever you really admire and is in a position that you think you want and ask them to observe or take a job or do an internship or something.
Yeah, work for free.
Work for free.
In your 5 p.m. to whatever hours.
Yeah.
But it comes down to people actually wanting to work.
Yeah.
Because working for free is working for free.
Yeah.
And it means you have to work for free. And meaning, like, if you don't even want to do that, it's already a sign of like, will you do whatever it takes?
Right.
Because you could get an internship with some pretty large companies if you went in without expectations of anything.
Willing to work hard, though.
Yes.
And you just did it. Because that's like right there. I don't think people get it. People pay like insane amounts of money to go to college. And they're learning from people that don't even do what they're teaching.
Yep.
Sorry, people out there teaching. That's fine, whatever. But the best college you could even ever go to is go to someone who's successful in the field that you want to be in and just do anything, literally, obviously not everything, but like basically anything for free to just shadow them and learn from what they're doing.
You could also, you could go a step further. Like, if you legit had the chance tomorrow and be like, you can pay $50,000 a year you can personally pay $50,000 a year to be like Gary Vee's assistant. Would that not seem worth it? Like, compared to a college?
Yes.
But yet people are like, I can't work for free.
Right.
But you'll spend $200,000 in college and you don't even know what you want to do?
Yeah.
Like,
So
and if legit someone came up to me and was like, this may sound crazy, but like, I'll pay you $15,000 to like shadow you for the year, I'd be like, okay. Like,
I'll teach you everything.
Here's your desk. Like, like, and yet, if you actually want to do what you want to do, is that not the best opportunity you could have? Is to literally be in the trenches and see everyday operations of what's happening. And then more importantly, when you're close to, let's just use the sun because they always use that as the term, you're close to the owner and you're a very hard worker, who do you think's going to get a job first? The person that worked for free or paid to work for free. Way before, I don't want to have to send out that I'm hiring. If there's some intern working unbelievably hard, I'm going to look for every opportunity to be like, you know what? I'm going to pay you way quicker than a year intern.
Yep.
But people will pay for college. People will pay for all these things, and they won't take a little bit of extra time to work for free on a thing. Like, it's just
the amount of value that you get, and it's all about the little
goodness,
conversations. Like, so when I was 19, I got to work with those two guys in New York City. They both were brothers in their 40s, made hundreds of millions of dollars a month, and I literally took every waking minute of my life to try and be with them. I slept over. I went to meetings with them. I got them coffee. I did whatever I could. And I heard so many little things that to this day have changed everything for me. And it's just because I was willing to spend the time to just be with them. And I got nothing out of it other than knowledge. But that has carried so much into my life, into what I'm doing now. And I think it's helped me a lot. But it's just about that, taking that time, and the little things matter so much.
I think everyone, going back to your point of like between high school and college, I think everyone should take a year or two and get literally the crappiest job they could, because when you have a crappy job, you'll really find out what you love. And if everyone, I'm going to use McDonald's as this definition. I'm not saying McDonald's is terrible to work for, but if every person just got a job at McDonald's as soon as they hired high school, they're still going to, if they want to learn, they're still going to learn things.
Yes, they are.
They're going to learn how to be a better manager, because they might have one that's terrible. They're going to learn how to be a better employee, how to work yourself up. And here's a FYI. If you were general manager of a McDonald's, you're doing pretty well. And do you think it'd be hard to actually jump up a corporate ladder in a place that most people don't care? No. Like, people go to school for restaurant management because they want to own a business. Like, if you own a McDonald's they don't really franchise, but like, we're a general manager of a big one, you're making good money. But people aren't willing to do that. But like, if you just got a crappy job, if you wanted to intern for someone that was 9 to 5, well, then get a really crappy job that's 5 p.m. to midnight, just because you need some money to actually learn what you want to do in the other time. And it will pay off 1,000,000 times more than you waiting until the day that you can do it yourself and start a business. Like,
I've watched it happen. I've seen people, like I've seen literally kids come out of high school into Chick-fil-A, let's say, and I see them and they wait on me and they're cleaning the tables, and you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're like the manager of the place, and they're overseeing people. And then I've literally seen the same guy now. A friend of mine, he owns 2 Chick-fil-A franchises. And he just started.
And it's because 99% of people just don't work hard. And if you work hard, you get recognized for the work you do in any organization.
You stand out right away.
I think the main thing that I keep hearing, and I don't know if you guys can let me know if you think it's true. Well, just a willingness to work hard and start from the bottom. Like, so I don't know, just willing. That just keeps coming to my mind, and like some of our words we've just been saying, having a willingness.
I think a lot of people are super prideful. They have like this entitlement.
Oh, and you know what? It comes, like, it's the world that we're living in right now, and the fact that, like, everyone gets a trophy. Which I have a really
place trophies.
difficult,
Oh my gosh.
I can't even.
When my kid loses in something, they're just gonna, dude, you lost, you sucked today. Sorry.
There's another game coming up, so just don't
not
worry
a bad way. It's just I can't stand that trophy. Trophy mentality. Of like, people need to learn there is a first and a second, and a second is not a bad thing.
Correct.
Period.
No.
Like, this 8th place trophy nonsense. Like, every kid win. No, they don't.
I know.
That's not how life works. If my business does terrible, what do you think? I get like a. I mean, some businesses get like that government, whatever they call it, but it's not normally how it works. Like, when you lose, you lose. Period.
I like losing.
It's okay to lose.
You learn a lot.
Yes.
It's actually fun in ways. It can be painful, but I think it's very fun because you come out more knowledgeable on the other side.
So a lot of great different perspectives, and I don't know, I really enjoyed this conversation.
I think it'll resonate with a lot of people, because I honestly do think that most people have a dream to do their own thing. That's just a cool thing. Entrepreneurship is on an unbelievable pedestal right now.
It really is.
But it's also, I think, made people not realize it's not as great as they think, like you said. Because it's so cool to be an entrepreneur now that everyone thinks they have to be. And that's what I hope people pull out the most of this entire conversation is like, just self-awareness, like evaluate. Your job is not that bad if you're actually doing what you like.
Yeah, it was a very hot conversation, like I always like to say, humble, open, transparent, because I think you need to be real.
Sure.
And I know, I think for me, if I was listening to this right before I made that step, I would glean a lot from, a lot of what you guys said. So we want to hear from you. So whether you have recently made that step or you're thinking about it, we would love to hear your thoughts, your comments. If you have questions, we would love to answer those questions for you. So thank you for listening or watching whatever platform you're listening or watching from. We appreciate you guys.
Yep, thanks for joining us in our new studio. We'll do some more, maybe do a podcast tour.
That'd be cool.
One time for the people that are actually listening. I mean, watching. The listening version would be a very boring tour. Okay, so this is now the entryway.
There's
They're like,
a wall right here.
I can't hear. Yeah, we have lots of ideas of possible, even live, once in a while podcasts. So if you are watching this on YouTube or even listening and you want to comment on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, if that's something that you kind of would be interested in about possibly like attending a live one, so we can do like live Q&As and different things, I think it'd be really cool to do in this space. That's why we have it. And we'd love to know, because obviously we can't host one if no one's interested. So we would love to know if that's something that might be intriguing to you. You're local, a couple hours, and you want to make a drive in, we may make that available, and it would be free of charge. So let us know. Comment, DM us, Instagram, Twitter. Share, yes. Yeah, we definitely obviously don't ask for anything on this podcast, but if you find this conversation or any valuable, one way you can definitely just show your gratefulness is to share it. Share it with someone who it may be valuable for, because this is all about just helping in any way we can. So well, that's it. Thanks for being here.
See you next time.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.